The smirk spread before the words even finished forming. My nephew didn't say it out loud. He didn't need to. He mouthed it slowly, dramatically, making sure I could read it. Trash belongs outside. He was 12, old enough to know what he was doing, young enough to rely on the room to protect him from consequences. And the room did. My sister laughed first, not loudly. Just a quick burst through her nose. My brother-in-law looked down at his plate, smiling into his wine. Even my mother didn't correct him. She adjusted the serving spoon as if nothing had happened. No one told him to apologize. No one said my name. My son felt my hand tighten around his. He looked up at me, not confused, not surprised, just watching, learning. I nodded once. Not to them, to myself. Come on, I told him gently. We left before dessert. No one followed us out. The drive home was quiet, but not heavy. My son stared out the window. I wondered what he thought. I wondered what he'd remember. I had been sending money to my mother every month for 4 years. It started after my father died. Then my sister's business struggled. Then my nephew's private school tuition. Then temporary became routine. I never framed it as sacrifice. I told myself I was helping, that families support each other. That stability mattered more than pride. But somewhere along the way, support became structure. They adjusted their lives around my transfers. Mortgage refinanced, school upgraded, vacations taken. And gradually I stopped being a son and became a line item. My phone buzzed that night at 9:17 p.m. monthly transfer today. No greeting, no mention of dinner, no acknowledgement of the air in that dining room. I stared at the message longer than I expected to. For a moment, I almost typed sent. That reflex scared me. Instead, I wrote, not my concern. I reread it twice before pressing send. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cruel. It was accurate. 3 dots appeared almost instantly. What do you mean? I didn't respond. 10 minutes later. Are you upset about something? Then we depend on that money. There it was. Not appreciation. Dependence. I put my phone face down and sat in the quiet of my living room. My son had gone to bed. I could hear the low hum of the dishwasher. I wasn't angry. That surprised me most. I was tired. The next morning, the consequences began unfolding, not theatrically, but predictably. A missed auto payment notification forwarded to me by accident. A message from my sister. The tuition deadline is tomorrow. My mother again, please don't do this over something small. Something small. I went to work as usual. Sat through meetings, signed contracts, approved budgets. I manage risk for a living. I understand exposure. I understand leverage. What unsettled me wasn't their financial vulnerability. It was the assumption that my boundary would collapse under mild pressure. Around noon, my brother-in-law called. He never calls. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't apologize either. You know how things are structured? He said. Pulling out suddenly affects everyone. Structured, as if I were a bank altering terms without notice. I'm not pulling out, I said evenly. I'm stepping back. Silence. You can't just. I can. I didn't explain further. I didn't reference dinner. I didn't mention the word trash, because this wasn't about one insult. It was about permission, about the comfort with which it was delivered. By mid-afternoon, the tone shifted. My mother's messages softened. We didn't mean to upset you. He's just a child. We've always appreciated you. Appreciation is quiet. Dependence is loud. I let the day pass without another response. That evening, a different kind of message arrived, not from family. A bank notification confirming that the automatic standing transfer I'd set up years ago had been successfully canceled. No drama, no announcement, just a small administrative confirmation. I opened a new account instead, in my son's name, not as retaliation, as redirection. Money isn't loyalty, it's resource. And I realized I'd been allocating mine out of habit, not intention. The following days were uncomfortable. My sister sent a long paragraph about misunderstandings. My nephew texted a short sorry, without punctuation. It felt coached. No one acknowledged the smirks. But the invitations changed. The next family dinner invitation included an actual question, will you be coming? Not see you Sunday. Language recalibrated. Requests became phrased carefully. The edge was gone. What surprised me most was my own quiet. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt lighter. There is a particular exhaustion that comes from being valued primarily for utility. When that utility is withdrawn, people are forced to renegotiate how they see you, or they don't. Either way, clarity arrives. 2 weeks later, my mother called instead of texting. Her voice was smaller. Well managed, she said. We just needed to adjust. That word again. Adjust. I didn't offer to resume the transfers. I didn't gloat. I'm still your son, I told her. Just not your plan. She didn't argue. At the next gathering, my nephew avoided my eyes at first. Later, when he passed me a plate, he said thank you. It was simple, normal, almost ordinary. No one smirked. And no one mentioned money. Driving home afterward, my son asked, are we okay with him now? I thought about it. We're okay with ourselves, I said. And that felt like enough. The power hadn't exploded or flipped dramatically. It had shifted quietly through absence, through a boundary that held no revenge, no spectacle. Just the steady understanding that dignity, once reclaimed, doesn't need to announce itself. It simply stops paying for the room.